This is Rachel Hill for the African American Cultural Gardens Sankofa web series. And in this series, we're going to bring to you some of the most fantastic people in Cleveland who are changing lives, making impacts. One of the things that we also discuss with them is what does Black history and culture mean to them, because that's very important. If we don't know where we came from, we don't know where we're going. And we also talk to them about what do they love about the garden as well. So these are wonderful conversations that we think you should sit down and watch, and you can learn and grow and be inspired, because a garden belongs to all of us and it is so important. But also you need to know about what people in the community are doing to better the community, because we all know that we have better days ahead. Please make sure you stay tuned for all of the episodes in the web series of the Sankofa web series, brought to you by the African American Cultural Gardens.
Hello, I'm Harry Boomer, and I'm honored to be a part of the Sankofa series as we talk to people of interest and interesting people about the African American Cultural Gardens and about themselves, what it is they do, how they got to where they are, and what their plans are for the future. And to that end, I'm very pleased to introduce and say hello to Miss India Nicole Burton. India, how are you?
I'm great. I'm doing great today. Happy to be here with you. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's tell us who India Nicole Burton is.
Well, my name is India Nicole Burton. I am an artist, a director, a playwright. I started off as an actress, an activist, an auntie, and just, I do a lot of stuff. Yeah.
It sounds like you're very creative, and we appreciate that for you bringing your talents to the stage and to the screen and to the community. Mm-hmm. It is so important to have our expressions. Not everybody has the opportunity, and it's good to see somebody who's making full advantage of that opportunity. Mm-hmm. Who planted the seed in you to do some of what you do? Where'd you get your ideas from? When did you start wanting to be what it is you are right now?
I mean, I think that when everyone is when everyone is born, they have the ability, you're natural actors and actresses. So I came out of the womb being an actress. Kids just have a great imagination. But it started with me and my brother, John Dale Alia, when we were younger. Me and him used to write plays together. We would play TRL, which was a show that was on MTV. We were just, all around artists. He's a singer, he's a poet. He's also a director and a playwright as well. So it started when I was very young, just having a huge imagination. So my first memory is probably me being 5 years old and acting out, writing a short play and acting it out myself. So,
that's interesting. You talk about our being born with the creative juices, if you will, and how sometimes between when we're born and when we get older, we start learning what we can't do.
Yep.
Or we're being told what we can't do. And family and friends and society sort of squeeze that creativity out of you. And it is so enlightening and encouraging when we can see that enthusiasm, that creativity blossom.
Yes.
And spread like the sunshine on a summer's day.
Yeah.
I'm just very glad to hear that. When you were 5 years old and started writing your plays and that, were you encouraged by family, by parents, just no matter what they said, don't do that, you did it anyway, or what?
I'm an Aries, so I think that's like a natural thing for Aries, is to want to be radical and to want to go against the grain. So I've always been bullheaded. My grandma would say hard-headed. But no, I didn't. My grandmother was born in 1924 in the rural South, and she raised us. And, that wasn't, we didn't have a lot of access to art. So for her, it was like, you need to work. That was the thing, is like, you got to work. But me and my brother, if it wasn't for my brother, I probably wouldn't be an artist. So he's the original artist, and I kind of admired what he was doing and followed in his footsteps. And it started through music. So I started off singing, and then through that, I discovered acting. And I discovered acting by watching The Color Purple and seeing people on TV that look like me. And that's my favorite movie of all time. And, Celie is just one of those quintessential characters that just move me. Because when I was a I'm still dark skinned, but I'm a dark skinned African American woman, and I know the struggle of what she was going through. So
I often say about being dark-skinned, because I am myself, I say the darker the Harry, the sweeter the juice.
Yes.
You know, and I am born and bred in the country like your grandmother, and grew up with that very strong work ethic. I think that has held me in good stead over the last 50 years of me running my mouth to make a living in broadcasting. And so I understand that. I'm a preacher's kid too, so I came by the gift of gab, honestly, and like you, my brother is my inspiration. He did a lot of poetry and things like that growing up, and I wanted to be just like my brother William, and so I followed in his footsteps, emulated until I found my own voice.
Yep, exactly.
And so I think you found your own voice. Talk about that voice, what it is you are saying, what it is you're trying to say, and where it is you want to go as you say what you say.
Right now, I'm very interested in my work, Panther Women in Army for the Liberation, which is a play that I'm working on now, that I wrote and I just directed a workshop of it. It centers the African American woman. And how that started was me trying to find myself, because when I was in undergrad, it was predominantly white. And I could always operate in these white spaces, you know what I mean? So when I came out of, undergrad, I didn't know who I was, because I was doing all these, European white plays. And so I had to go on a journey to try to figure myself out. And on that journey, I discovered the Black Panther Party, the women of the Black Panther Party. And so it became a real interest for me to write about them and to center their voices.
Because here we've heard a lot about the men. We've seen them sitting in the chairs, the high back chairs with the guns and the tams on, and berets, and providing for the community. It is not what the FBI portrayed them to be at all. They started out as an organization trying to help each other, trying to help the community, and we have been miseducated, misguided about who they were and what they stood for.
True.
And then oftentimes, as you know very well, women are often left out of the equation, although women do the bulk of the work 9 times out of 10.
That is true.
So I'm glad to hear that you decided to raise their voices so that we can become aware of who they are and what it is they did. And that will inspire young women such as yourself and others to not be afraid to be who they are.
Exactly. I'm very inspired. I mean, like I said, my grandma, my aunt, they all raised me and work. If it weren't for them, I would not have the work ethic that I have right now. So when all of the Black Panther men were getting arrested and going to jail, the women had to step up and take care of the, take care of the environment and the stuff that they started. So it was important for me to not only raise their voices and, but also, like you said, turn their stories around and say, no, this started off as something different, and also just to connect more to the ancestors and the people who came before me, who have paved the way for me to get to where I am. That's very important to me.
They walked through the weeds so that you could walk on the path toward your eventual destiny.
Yes.
Too many of us try to discard that, don't appreciate that, look at that as having been then rather than how then helped us get to where we are now. And when that happens, we find ourselves lost in a world that we don't understand, in a world that does not reach out to understand us.
I agree.
So it's so very important that you, as you say, center yourself, find out who you are, and then bring that part of who you are to the world. Because everybody is unique, and everybody has something to give back to the world. And the sooner we find that, and believe that about ourselves, and you believe it about yourself, the world's a better place, and you are more in a place of solace and comfort and all of that. So tell us a little bit about some of your struggles. You're from Akron. Tell us about how you came from Akron to where you are now, and how Akron sort of imbued in you some concepts that help you grow to be the woman that you are now.
Yeah, so my mother didn't raise me. My grandmother and my aunt raised me until I was around 16, and then I actually went into foster care. And I grew up in a neighborhood that people might call the ghetto or the hood, very impoverished, just a lot of destitute, and I desperately wanted to escape, you know what I mean? And so when I was 18, I went into foster care when I was 16, which was one of the best things that I think ever happened to me, because my foster mother, which is not always the case, was just wonderful, you know. And I graduated, and from high school, when I was 18, I hit the door and I never came back. So I went to school for theater. My undergrad was theater. Like I said, I had gotten an education in Eurocentric, you know, techniques from all these white men, you know. And I thought it was okay, because what you don't know, you don't know. And then
It is what was available to you at the time.
Exactly.
You thought, until you reached out beyond the usual places.
So then when I came out, I started, you know, recognizing all these great African-American playwrights and actors. And I'm like, I never knew this. I wasn't taught this. So I went through, you know, college. I started an African-American company with my brother in Akron called Masu Productions, which was named after my grandmother. We called her Mama Sue. And then I left Akron when I was 27 and moved to Cleveland, and then everything just kind of started to take off. I came here as an actress first, and then I started to teach. And because the school that I taught drama at the school, we didn't have any money. I had to write everything, I had to direct everything, and I had to produce everything. So that sort of set me up to where I am now.
And that's where that strong work ethic came in.
Yeah.
You were able to do that and survive it doing that.
Exactly.
You know, and I was going to ask you, how did you get to the Cleveland Public Theater? Now I know you came by way of necessity. And isn't it wonderful to teach? I find that as I teach, the more I learn. I reinforce what I already know, and I take an inquisitive mind and bring them to where I am. And then I say like this, go fly.
And children are just smart, and they don't know not to do certain things. So they're poetic, they're beautiful, they have such huge imaginations. And if it wasn't for me teaching, I probably would not be the director, the producer, or the writer that I am. Because they were like my muses, you know. I thought it was very important for them to learn their history. So a lot of the stuff that we did was about history, like the Tulsa race riots. We did a play about the Holocaust, and, you know, Martin Luther King and internment camps, Japanese internment camps. This is stuff that's not being taught to our children, you know. And so
you know what you're doing now? You're talking about critical race theory, which is all the rage in terms of people trying to say that it is bad. But I say the truth is the truth, and the truth shall set you free. When you learn who you are and whose you are, what you bring to the planet, and what you can give back to the planet, and tell the truth about what happened to you, what happened to your people, what happened in history, the contributions that you've made. When I say you, I mean we as a people, African people in the diaspora. It is so important to realize just how important that is. Because like you said, when you get out there in the world and you get lost in that, trying to find your way back to who you are can be devastating. A lot of people get lost out there in the world and never find their way back.
And we are a lost people. You know, we are the only people in this country who we don't really know our identity. You know, so for me, that was why it was so important for me to teach them about the stuff that their people did, the stuff that their people endured, that there was a Black Wall Street. You know what I mean? Like we were prosperous. We were able to filter money back in the community so that we could filter it back into each other and have wealth. And so that was very important to me, so that they could so that we can establish some kind of identity and worth, you know. So
if you don't know who you are, it's kind of hard to find who you will be. And so taking the time to do some introspective looking to say, why am I here? What is my purpose? What do I give? What do I receive? Because it has to be a give and take, a two-way street as well. If you're going to fulfill the destiny that the Creator put on you and in you from the beginning. I kind of believe that everything we need, we have. We just have to open the door, find the right key at the right time to open the door, to raise the window, to look at the sky and say, I'm going to fly. And we can do all of that. But we have to have a better sense of self to do that.
Exactly.
Speaking of sense of self, tell me about your revelation, if you will, my word, not yours, with Black Panther women.
Ooh, you mean how I came up with the idea to do it?
And what it's all about, and just walk us through that.
Oh, yeah. So the way that it actually started was in 2016, when the Cavs won the championship, me and my partner went down to the parade, and nobody knew there was going to be 1 million people there. So people were there at 6 o'clock. We got there at 1 o'clock, and and it was so hot. It was a July day, so we were walking, and everywhere we stopped, people wanted us to move because they had been there since 6 a.m. And so we stopped because we were just so tired, and this crowd of people just kind of started attacking us, you know what I mean? And one of them hit my partner, and I'm trying to defend her. And then a white guy looked at me and was like, why do you have to be ignorant just like, or rageful just like all Black women? And that was one of the first times that I had ever experienced overt racism like that. Because I had always been able to fit in these white communities. And so I was so angry, like I was so angry. And so I came home and I started looking at the Nation of Islam stuff, because you know, they speak the truth about. And then in the queue, I started to see the Black Panther Party, which I knew about the Black Panthers, but what I knew was Angela Davis. And then I found out Angela Davis wasn't even in the Black Panthers, you know.
Right. Strong in her own right, but not part
yes,
of the Black
yes. And she's in my play. And so as I was like looking through, I saw Kathleen Cleaver, you know, I saw the stuff about Asada Shakur came up, Elaine Brown, you know, and I'm like, I don't know, only one that I really know is Angela, you know. She's the face of the Black Panther Party, and she's not even in the Black Panther Party. So that led me on this trajectory of trying to figure out who they were. And as I did my research, I learned a lot about these women and their vulnerability. And I know that a lot of Black women are painted as these strong, resilient human beings, but we are humans. You know, we're not robots. You know, we feel, we have emotions. You're saying we're rageful. Yes, I'm rageful. I have rage for a reason. It's not, you know, you're allowed to be rageful. Why am I? It's just what we do with that rage. And so I came to Entry Point. Entry Point is a new development series that Cleveland Public Theater does. We do a lot of new development. We do a lot of new play, new development work. And Entry Point is one of those. And as I was walking around, I saw all of these African-American women projects. And I'm like, wow, this is the time to do what I've been thinking about doing. So I went to Raymond, and Raymond's like, sure, there was no hesitant. He said, sure. And then later on, he asked me to apply for this fellowship, the National New Play Network Producer in Residence, which is a national organization that Cleveland Public Theater is a part of. And I got it. I got the residency, which I didn't think I was going to get at all. And then I had to do something in that residency. So that was one of the projects that I did, and I gathered a group of 7 women, and we went into a rehearsal room. We took, you know, the script wasn't even made yet, and we developed it, and now we're here, and that was 2018. 2021, we just had our last workshop. Yeah.
Excellent. Those of you who are just tuning in, I want to mention that I'm talking with India Nicole Burton. She's an actress, a playwright, all-around terrific person who has a vision, and not only a vision, but that vision is turned into certain realities that you are now sharing with the rest of us, and we're grateful for that. Where do you go from here?
I'll continue on the journey of activism and lifting the voices of marginalized individuals. I think that's my calling in this, you know, in theaters, to do that.
The poet, the actress, the writer, the activist can say things in ways that most of us are afraid to, that most of us need to. And so it's good to hear a young voice being raised, who's saying it loud and proud, that I am somebody, and that I can share who I am with the rest of you, and not being afraid to lose who I am in the midst of all that's out there. That is so crucial, to stand in your own truth, as they say, and to stand in your own power, and to know that I am, and that because I am, you also can be.
Exactly.
It's so crucial to your growth and to our growth. Anything you want to say about India that I haven't asked you about?
No, I mean, I think I'm not very good at talking about myself, which is ironic. But no, I think, you know, that's me in a nutshell. You know, I feel like I'm here to to, like I said, raise the voices of marginalized individuals, but also to show young girls, because I was that girl in the ghetto looking at the TV and watching, watching The Color Purple, and I saw that representation of myself, and that's what gave me the impetus to say, I can do this. So I want to be that example for that little girl who is watching, because I was that little girl. So.
As the saying goes, if I can see it, I can be it.
Exactly.
And if I don't see it, I'm going to be it anyway.
Yep.
That if it isn't there, I'm going to create it, because the Creator gave me the intuitiveness, the ability, the insight to reach out beyond who I am or who I think I am at the time, and do stuff that people never thought possible. The world and history is replete with people like you, India Nicole Burton, who we're pleased to know, and thank you so very much.
Thank you. This was great.
India, there are so many opportunities for us to do the things that we want to do, to find a way to express ourselves. And one of those is learning and knowing our own history. And Cleveland has a gem called the African American Cultural Gardens. Your thoughts on that?
I think it's absolutely amazing to have an African American garden, especially in a place where it's a high concentrated amount of African Americans. We actually took Panther Women and Army for the Liberation over there to their stage a couple weeks ago, and it was my honor to be there and to be able to bring work into their community that they could identify with, but also give them access to things that they may not have access to. So I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful that there's an African American garden. And there's a lot of other cultural gardens there too, which I think is just amazing and wonderful.
Yeah. We belong too. Seeing that we were the first on the planet.
Exactly. Yeah. We belong. We belong. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I want to thank our special guest, India Nicole Burton, who is all that and then some, for being a part of the Sankofa series. I'm pleased to have been a part of this, and we have to celebrate who we are so that we know who we are, so we can spread who we are with the rest of the world in ways that we've never done. Sankofa series is doing that. We appreciate you, Sankofa. India, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
And all of you, do what you do, because we need you. Take care.
Hello, I'm Carl Ewing, the president of the Association of African American Cultural Gardens. We need your help to complete the African American Cultural Gardens. We learn from our past as we live in the present to secure our future. That's what the African American Cultural Gardens represent. To make your tax-deductible donations, go to aacg.org. Remember, sow a seed and watch us grow. Thank you.
We're excited to bring you Sankofa Series, Do You Know? We highlight an individual who has impacted the community and the world for the betterment of society to see if you know them. Ready? A Cleveland homegrown politician whose district encompassed most of downtown and East Cleveland. She was the first African American prosecutor in Ohio history. She was preceded by the Honorable Louis Stokes and succeeded by Marcia Fudge. She served as a U.S. representative for Ohio's 11th congressional district for 10 years before getting her seat in Congress. Do you know?